It is Thursday evening, so of course that is time for Jungle Drums. I am joined by my co-hosts and good friends Gimboyd and Sergeant J.
Hello.
Hola.
How are we doing this fine evening, gentlemen?
Well,
Tired and feeling fat.
Well, see, this is the problem when you've had... Because how many weeks off did you have? About 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
And so your first
yeah.
week, you're almost done. It's almost Friday. That first week back after 3 weeks off, I mean, yeah, you've just got to be feeling like a burst couch at the moment.
I don't really plan on leaving my bed Saturday unless I really have to.
That's fair enough. What about yourself, Gim? How are you doing? How's the old gob ears keeping up these days?
Oh, it's just minor pain now. It's just NHS can't cope with the number of people needing what I need, so they've been sent off privately on the NHS's money.
Really? Ew.
That will do. As long as it gets done, I don't really care.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair enough. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, a lot of folk out with the UK, they think, oh, wow, you guys have an NHS, that's great, you don't have to pay for your medical care, but, those of us that live it know that, well, wait, hold on, there's the problem is the waiting lists and, the level of care you actually get tends to be, I won't say minimal, but, I mean, come on, we know everything has a price, so when you're talking about the public purse, x-rays, scans, tests, it's just really difficult to...
And you still have to pay a lot for those sort of things as well.
That's true. Well, especially with dental care. I mean,
Yeah.
you still have to pay a lot.
I only qualify for free dental care.
Oh well. Life problems aside, why don't we get into some tech and gaming news?
Yay!
So the first bit of news is quite interesting, actually. This I can't remember what day this came out. I'm pretty sure it was this week. But it was on the Mixer blog. Mixer, of course, is the platform that I'm on right now that I live stream from. And so Mixer is going to be testing video broadcasting with USB webcams on Xbox One. Yeah, so get this. Anyone who streams directly from console, from the Xbox One specifically, knows that you're limited, right? I mean, you can only use your headset for audio unless you buy the Turtle Beach Stream mic, but any other USB mic doesn't work. You just can't plug in anything you want. It has to be a headset or this special Turtle Beach Stream mic, which allegedly is actually quite a good microphone, believe it or not. But when it comes to video, everyone is stuck with the Kinect. That's been just the way it's been since the beginning. And so this is quite interesting that Mixer, this is only for Xbox Insiders at the moment, those who are on the alpha preview ring. But they basically added support for USB webcams. Now, I don't know if there's I don't know if there's like a full list of compatibility. I don't know if anything's going to work. I don't know what type of, if it gives you an option for resolution choice or if it just automatically caps it at a certain amount. These are all bits of information that the blog doesn't state anything about. But it was quite interesting, is that, look, because most USB webcams don't have echo cancellation like the Kinect, these USB webcams are going to be video only. So for audio, you're still going to have to use your headset or the Turtle Beach Stream mic. But I find this really, really interesting that they're willing to enable this feature for Mixer, which of course Microsoft owns Mixer. But what do you guys think? I mean, is this going to make the, is it going to make the Twitch crowd a bit salty? I mean, if they can, is it possible that they would actually enable this feature just for Mixer, or is it actually going to be for everybody? What do you think?
Hard to say, really, isn't it? I mean, it could just be them looking at trying to get an edge with Mixer, as you say, because, I mean, if Twitch don't have that, you're going to have a lot more people looking at wanting to use that platform. Especially those that do game on the Xboxes and consoles. Also gives it a bit of the edge over the PlayStation as well, doesn't it, really? In terms of that sort of stuff, again. PlayStation don't offer that kind of service too, and obviously, again, Mixer is Xbox.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, on the PlayStation, you can I mean, they're kind of in a similar position where you can't just plug in any old webcam. You have to use their proprietary camera. But yeah, I just find it really interesting that they have the ability to kind of turn on this feature. Like, because, I mean, we all know an Xbox One is basically just a modified Windows 10 PC.
Yeah.
For the most part, right? I mean, okay, some of the architectures, you know, the core features are different. But effectively, you know, it has USB. We should be able to plug in a mouse and a keyboard. It should work. But
they are bringing support for that, by the way.
Yes. People keep asking for it. The dev kits, or the dev versions, have supported mouse and keyboard since the dawn of time. So that's good if we're finally going to get that for those that, you know. I mean, not necessarily for gaming, but if you think of how many people use their console as their entertainment center, you know what I mean? Like firing up the internet or browsing through YouTube. So I think that's a good feature.
Yeah, it definitely is. I opened up a lot more avenues of it as well.
But yeah, no, I'm just really, I just find it so interesting, you know, that they're going to be doing this USB camera support, but you know, specifically for Mixer. I really want to keep an eye on this and see if it ends up being, you know, that no, actually, look, it's going to work, and Twitch is going to be able to, you know, put the coding in as well, change their app a little bit to enable people to do this, because it's a great option. I mean, because let's be honest, I mean, most people don't have a Kinect nowadays. I mean, I think even Microsoft almost pretends that it doesn't exist anymore, because I don't know of any new games that are Kinect games.
I barely see anything about it, to be honest.
There are some games that come out with some kind of minor, like, Kinect functionality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's very minor and not at the forefront.
Well, I think
you stumble across those features.
Well, I think ever since that scandal, that what was it? By plugging your Kinect in, it
would always turn on record, wouldn't it, or something like that?
Well, it was doing that, Jay, but also allegedly it lowered your performance by like 20%.
Yeah, it took up a lot of.
I did not know.
Yeah, that was the thing. People were noticing, because remember when Xbox One first came out, it only came with the Kinect. You had to. Yeah. That's the way it came, and people were noticing the minute they like unplugged it, their games were running better. And then I can't remember the blog or the article somewhere, but someone did the math, and it was, I can't remember if it was 15 or 20%. I also can't remember if that was just straight performance or if it was video memory or just normal RAM, but it was something along those lines that the Kinect was negatively affecting the performance of the Xbox One. And ever since that stigma, just people have stayed away from it, which is a shame, because the Kinect itself is a technical masterpiece. I mean, the technology that's in that, if you hook it up to a PC, you know, and we're talking the ability to actually 3D scan, you know, your head, you know, it can make wireframe models and all. It's got really advanced technology, almost too much for a gaming console. So it does. But no, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. So there you go. Once again, Mixer trying to, you know, I hate saying compete, but you know, they're trying to innovate and do things a little bit differently from other platforms out there. You know, hence why they do things like this faster than light, the you know, the instant broadcast, the interactivity. You know, like we've got down below, the way that those are coded into some of the new games that are coming out. You know, so it's interesting to see the different types of innovation that they're coming out with. Right, so Skyrim. Everyone loves Skyrim, right? You guys love Skyrim, don't you?
I did back in 2011.
I don't like Elder Scrolls games, not because they're not good, but I never finished the main story because they just suck me in so bleeding much.
Yeah, they're just.
I still have yet to finish off Oblivion, let alone Skyrim. I put so many hours in, and they're just like, you don't want to finish the main story yet.
Oh my. Well, I came across this from GameRant.com, and this was about Skyrim Special Edition getting a survival mode. Because let's face it, guys, I mean, survival, or, you know, that type of thing. That's the in thing now, right? Every game you have to put in a survival mode, it would seem. So Skyrim Special Edition is going to be receiving its very own survival mode. What Bethesda's saying, it's a way to rack up, or ratchet up the difficulty for players of this fantasy title. At the moment, the feature is only available on Steam for those who opt into it through beta, but it's set to launch for PS4 and Xbox One sometime in the next week or two. And they're saying the first week is going to be free for all players, but however, Bethesda has yet to unveil pricing beyond that. But so according to the blog post, they're saying that the survival mode is going to add new challenges like hunger, fatigue, and cold in order to create this kind of new strategic dimension for you to think about when you're exploring through your journey. Of course, as you would imagine, hunger can be fixed by eating. Although it says here you have to be careful because the consumption of raw meat can give you food poisoning. Fatigue can be stopped by sleeping, and colder areas can be more tolerable for those wearing warm clothes or armor. And it's quite interesting when you talk about, like, if you're a vampire or a werewolf, you're going to have certain advantages when it comes to staying alive. Because, well, if you're hungry, you can just, go grab an NPC.
Yep.
And you're not going to get as cold as a mere mortal would be. So yeah, this sounds interesting. Is this interesting enough to go fire Skyrim back up again, though, Gim?
Well, I had it on the 360, and they're not going to make it backwards compatible because they released it on One now. So, yeah. And yeah, Bethesda in survival mode is a weird thing because the first time it appeared, it was in New Vegas, which was Obsidian making that, and Bethesda publishing. And that was like one of the best things about that game.
Oh, really? Was it?
It was really good. Yeah. Dogs found a toy. But yeah, that added all the first hunger and other mechanics. They put weight on your ammunition and stuff like that. And yeah, they had to patch that into 4 because they left it out of 4 originally.
Ah, okay.
That's to forget that people like things, and then they mess up. The fact that this wasn't in Skyrim was weird because they could have put it in there, and now they're putting it in. There's a couple of things in there that are interesting, like the cold being a big factor, which makes sense.
Yeah, which I mean, well, in the world of Skyrim, where is it not cold? That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, the hot pools in the more southern parts.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the taverns, they're big fire pits. Yeah. But yeah, and they've accounted for the vampire and werewolves. Vampires being... I can't remember if you could be a vampire in a base game. I think you probably can.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, there's a standard version of vampire, and then you could be like a vampire lord in the Dawnguard DLC.
That's right.
Yeah, the werewolf was always overpowered.
Oh god, yeah, werewolves were ridiculous.
It's like, turn on werewolf mode, tear everything apart, wait for a day, you recharged your power, do it again. But yeah, it's been good. It's just weird that it's been this long.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
6 years for them to realise, oh, people might want this.
Yeah, it's not strange. I mean, it is. It's, I mean, even like when the special edition came out, I get that for the new consoles, but with the PC release, it was a bit strange because I have the special edition only because I have the original Skyrim on Steam, so they automatically upgraded me to the special edition. But so this survival mode, if I'm reading this correctly, this will actually be a paid DLC.
Really?
Is that right? Because it said...
It looks like it.
It says the first week being free for all players. However, Bethesda has yet to unveil pricing beyond that. So... I don't know. A bit vague. But,
yeah, it's a little bit.
I mean, that reads to me as if, this is... It's not getting, like, added in, for those who already own it, but, like,
It's weird to have a whole game mode be, like, in a single player game be free for a week and then they take it away. That sounds really weird.
Yeah, it does sound weird. So hopefully that's just wrong on their part.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's just wrong because it's best to go. Yeah, you tried that for a week. Yeah, you can't play that character.
Because I mean, what all this is doing is really okay. It's adding in those features, but it's not like adding new chapters or new story or anything. It's just enabling a mod. It's a mod.
Really?
If we're honest, it's a mod.
Yeah.
So is it going to be priced like a mod? I don't know.
Well, there probably were plenty of survival mode mods in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably was.
Yeah, you're right. That's probably because didn't they? What was it? Did they do? Wasn't it Morrowind or Oblivion where they did that? Where like their DLCs, like quite a few of them incorporated features that had actually been popular mods. I'm sure there was one of the games where they did that.
Well, they're currently doing it with Fallout 4's what they call it, Creation Club, which is basically paid mods. Even though they said it wasn't going to be paid mods. They've literally taken. There's at least 3 things on there. There's a Chinese stealth armor. There's a different kind of power armor. There's also a horsepower armor. All 3 of those were mods, and they're just slightly different. And in most of those cases, they look worse than the mods. Like graphically, they just look not as well done. The textures are just a bit bad on them. But yeah, it's they know their games are big on the modding scene and they want to tap that for money.
Yeah, that's fair enough, I suppose. Fair enough, I suppose. Right, our next bit of news is from Eurogamer.net, and this is actually, me and Gim were talking about this earlier, and it actually makes complete sense, but it's quite funny because there's people on the internet that are just outraged by this. You know, they can't believe that this is the case. They feel that they're being ripped off, that it's shocking. How dare they? Why would they do this? And of course, this is about the Mini, well, the SNES Mini, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Mini. Well, if you tear it down, basically, it's just a NES Mini inside. Basically. Same processor, storage, and RAM are sitting on an almost identical main board. So, yeah, that says it all, right? And people, I say people, but there's a lot of just salt on the internet about this. But me and Gim were talking about this, and why should anyone be shocked? Because, you know, how did you put it, Gim?
You're not buying the hardware, you're buying the software is what you're really paying for there.
Exactly.
It's what the emulator is preloaded with, and the games as well,
Exactly.
including on the SNES Mini. You also got the unreleased Star Fox 2.
Yes. I mean, this is the thing. It doesn't take, you know, to think that they were going to make a whole other bit of hardware, you know, like a special emulator, you know, because, no, just, if anything, I'm sure it's not the same, but it's almost like just like a Raspberry Pi or something inside there, right? I mean, it was effectively just emulating the NES games. So, yeah, as you say, you wouldn't need different hardware. Yes, we've got a different external case, we've got a different controller and whatnot, but the insides, all you have to do is change out the ROM, right? Just have, instead of having NES quality graphics, okay, you know, it's emulating Super NES games now.
I mean, the technology in there can run more than what they've, like, more complicated ROMs than what they've got on there. They could probably run like N64 level stuff quite easily on that same hardware. It's just the way technology is now. But people think that what they're getting is a miniaturized version of like the old technology, which is stupid because that stuff is crap now.
Yeah.
And I don't think they could actually find anyone that makes the parts for it.
I mean, this is the thing. I've got a quick comparison here in this picture. I know it's a little bit small, but you know, this is them side by side. The SNES Mini on the left, and then the NES Mini on the right. And I mean, as you can see, the plastic bit is different, but the actual
difference there is the case.
Yeah, the PCB is just identical, and it makes sense because, I mean, this this actual bit of hardware is, I mean, I used, you know, comparison to a Raspberry Pi. Obviously, it's, you know, not a Raspberry Pi, but when you think about the similarities, it's using Linux, right? It's basically a Linux operating system on that box. You so it's open source. The software, that's on these NES and SNES minis emulates the Super NES itself, but also a range of add-on processors. Because what ended up happening back in the day with cartridges was some of these cartridges actually had special things on them that then the console could access.
Super FX chips.
Yep, exactly, for Star Fox.
To make those vector graphics work properly.
Or even remember, what was it? Was it Turok on the N64? Remember, it was either Turok or Turok 2 that they sold a separate, a expansion, a memory expansion or something that, remember, had a thing on the front of it and you could plug this new memory thing in. I can't remember. But yeah, so it's a bit of a, the real reason why people have to be salty about it surely has to be because of the limited production, right? Because if this is the case, then we'll actually, maybe the exterior was a limited production, but clearly they had the ability to pump out as many as they wanted.
And they've already said they're going to make more, both the NES Mini and the SNES Mini anyway.
Oh, did they?
So, yeah.
Well,
part of it was a marketing ploy anyway.
This is Nintendo Amiibos again. It's
exactly
artificial scarcity.
Yeah. They're good at it.
We're not going to print as many, so you're going to want them more.
No, they definitely know what they're doing. It pisses people off. We've even had a really good, I think there's been a couple of articles on scholarlygamers.com about Nintendo's tactics, and
they're a toy manufacturer that makes games as well. That's it.
Yeah.
Toy manufacturers give this all the time. See parents fist fighting over things at Christmas and stuff like that. Nintendo just do that all the time.
On one hand, I kind of wanted to get a SNES Mini just for Star Fox 2, but then
there's other great games on there as well.
There is other ones. I think a lot of them I looked at, I was like, well, I enjoyed them, but I wouldn't necessarily say I want to go back and play them, because there's been a few games that I feel nostalgic about, but then when I go and play them, I'm just kind of like, whoa, okay, yeah, this isn't as good as I remembered it being,
But I think the old RPGs on there would be good. I can't remember which Final Fantasy's on there.
Did it not? Was there not a Secret of Mana on there as well, or something?
I think Secret of Mana was on there as well.
Yeah, see, yeah, maybe so.
Those old RPGs hold up a lot better because you're playing it for the story as well, and the story is just good.
Oh my!
I always go back to old Pokemon games as well, because there's just so much content to those games, and it doesn't matter what they look like; they're just fun. So stuff like that is great.
Oh well, away from hardware and back to software. Funnily enough, this is a game that, it's not that I forgot about it. It's just I've been so busy with Destiny 2, and but honestly, yes, I did. I completely forgot that Forza Motorsport 7 comes out next week, and because I love the Forza games. The problem is I've been so busy with other things that I just finished Forza 5 a few months ago. Right? Forza 6, I still haven't done everything I want to do in it, so I'm in no rush to buy Forza 7. I bought Forza 6 when it was on offer. But anyway, Forza 7 does indeed come out next week. So what you can do is you can already preload it, which according to VG247.com, has actually been a bit of an issue on PC. And there's several articles all over the internet about this. But it's basically saying that the Forza 7 PC preload is an utter mess. With users reporting all over the place that there they are trying to preload Forza 7 on PC. And what ends up happening is eventually the preload stops, right? So either you get to 15 gigabytes and then it just fails and stops, you have to start over, or maybe you make it to 50, or maybe you even make it to 92, because Forza 7 on PC is 100 gigabytes. It's a large game. Because of course it has, the 4K resolution, the 4K textures, all these types of things. It's super high res. It's a beautiful looking game. That game on the One X with a 4K TV is going to be you know, it's going to be gorgeous. I mean, just that itself will probably sell the console when folk actually see it. But of course, because it's a Microsoft title, you have to download it via the Windows Store, which, of course, guys, we all know that works perfectly all the time, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Turn 10, you know, obviously the creators of Forza, they're saying that, look, we're working with Windows, we're working with Microsoft to try to actually fix this problem and try to resolve it as quickly as they can. Because the game actually unlocks tonight. It unlocks tonight for Ultimate Edition owners. So once it's unlocked, you know, you can probably just resume the download then. But, you know, many of those, let's see, what's it saying? Yeah, the Windows Store actually spits out an error code. And when this happens, resuming the download does not in fact pick up from where it left off. It restarts the whole thing from the top. So, oh my, can you imagine how frustrating, I mean, how many times would you go before you give up? You know
Twice at max.
You know, and you can imagine, you know, if you were a the hardcore, the die-hard Forza folk, you know, they would keep trying over and over again. So a bit of a shame for those guys.
Got to be incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
They've got a screenshot here. I can't. Can I zoom this in? Can I bring this up big?
You're talking about the forum.
The forums. Yeah. So it might be a bit small to see the screen, but error codes when trying to install, error in Windows Store, preload fails. Jesus Christ, Microsoft, fix the Forza 7 download. Yeah, a lot of salt, and you can pretty much understand why. Kind of sucks. The thing is that's interesting is I don't know of Turn 10 usually running into issues, but Forza Horizon 3 and Gears of War 4 both experienced a very similar, if not identical, problem when they launched last year. And it says here to the point that Microsoft had to actually push an update to Windows 10 itself in order to fix it. So it's quite interesting. The author of the article asked the question, how is it that the next time this happens, you know, it's with another Forza game a year later? So there you go. Bit of a crappy deal. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like the Windows Store, you know, just because of the way it works or whatever. You know, people are so used to using things like Steam or other services that are out there, which
ones that have been around longer and got past all these problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think a simple fix could have been to just have all the high-res textures be like a separate pack you download after the fact? A lot of games tend to do that, and they seem to download better.
I just don't know. It'll be interesting.
Not everyone's going to be using those high-res textures. Everyone's got a beast machine.
No, that's true. I mean, I'm pretty sure for the Xbox, right, it's going to be one of those games that if you're on a normal Xbox One, it only downloads or installs what it needs.
Yeah, because they were talking about, weren't they? So if you haven't got a 4K one, they won't download all those 4K assets. They'll just put on what you need.
Because Xbox One has a lot smaller hard drives as default.
I've
still got only a 500 gig in mine.
I think that's the problem when you look at how the Windows Store installs things, because let's be honest, like a lot of games, how they used to work. Remember, you would get like these options would come up asking you if you wanted to install this, that, and this, and I believe on Steam it would probably be the same, where it would probably give you the base game, and then you'd have the option under the DLC or whatever, you know, if you wanted the high-res textures for 4K, I would imagine. But of course, with the Windows Store, it just doesn't quite
doesn't work that way.
No, a bit of a shame. But anyway, hopefully they get it sorted, and hopefully that game's going to be awesome. I won't be getting it right away. I'll do my usual Forza strategy, and I'll motivate myself to finish off Forza 6. And once it's finished, then I can look at trying to get 7.
Are you doing something similar with the Assassin's Creed franchise?
That was true,
Must
but
finish.
but I did. But remember, I bought Syndicate because it was a Boxing Day sale, so it was a really good price. But yes, I still haven't finished Unity. One of these days.
I didn't finish Unity either.
Yeah,
I got it for 99p.
It'll happen, damn it. One day.
See, this is why I don't go near Steam anymore. It's because I just continuously increase my library of games I'm not going to play.
Yeah.
I found the best way not to get hit by Steam sales is to not have money. That works very well.
I've just found it's just not be on Steam.
Also, on a PC that can't run half of them.
Yeah.
So I really want the. I can't remember if it's out today or tomorrow, but the new Warhammer Total War.
Oh
yeah. I've been looking at that. And again,
I want both of them so you can play the stupid mega campaign that puts both games maps together. Just basically the entire old world of fantasy Warhammer.
Pretty dope.
It's just...
Speaking of games that your PC likely won't run, another article from VG247.com, and hey, that's the way to do it, is Anthem, right? Remember when we saw Anthem at E3 and how cool it looked? Remember at Gamescom where we didn't see anything or hear anything about Anthem, and that wasn't cool? They've basically been super quiet about Anthem, to the point that the latest bit of information comes from Twitter, where a user had basically tweeted saying, hey, if this game don't get a beta like Mass Effect Andromeda, I'm gonna assume it's dead in the water. And so Jonathan Warner from BioWare, right? Yeah, game director of Anthem, yep, we'll have a beta. Prepare for adventure. So, not an announcement, not anywhere on their website or anything, but basically they came out and said, yes, we're going to have a beta, which, to be honest, was there any doubt that there wouldn't have been? I mean, let's be honest, that's the new marketing strategy. That's how you hype a game up. That's how you try to, force pre-order sales nowadays, as you offer a beta.
Thing is though, like with most games now, it is a big make or break, and especially for a new franchise like this, it will be. And without again being too, because obviously it's going to do it, but look at how well Andromeda was received in terms of the fact that it wasn't as good as what people thought it was going to be. From what I'm aware of, I haven't even played it, but
hey Matt, how you doing?
Because of that. There's going to be a lot of doubt potentially about Anthem, a lot of that sort of stuff. So again, it'll be a good big make or break. Obviously, it's going to get compared to things like Destiny and Division. That's inevitable. It's going to happen.
Well, what do you think of that, Jay? I mean, because the way that they're framing it is that Anthem is BioWare's answer to Destiny, which I find funny because so little is known about the game. I mean, okay, we saw a little bit of it, and okay, yes, it's a squad-based, shared world shooter type thing, but, is that enough for us to say, oh, yeah, it's just BioWare's answers to Destiny? I mean, we don't know
I don't really know
how it's going to play.
I think it's a bit of a silly statement anyway, to be honest with you. Why does it need to be the answer to Destiny? But anyway, besides that, as you say, we don't know anything about it, and for me, that's already thrown it. I mean, it probably will be the same sort of style genre or whatnot as Destiny, but that's already throwing it into that mix, which isn't really fair, because it's going to want to try and be its own IP. It's going to want to try and make its own self as such. That makes sense. And you say comparing it, saying it's like Destiny without knowing anything about it it can't be done.
There's definitely one thing I've seen that it's definitely got going in its favour, and that is the writer. I'm gonna butcher his surname. Karpyshyn. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I've got a couple of books of his as well as played a lot of the games he's written for. He's written for 2 of the Baldur's Gate expansions.
Oh, okay. There, done. I'm done. I'm done.
Knights of the Old Republic, the first one, written and wasn't rushed. Jade Empire, Mass Effect 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree.
Star Wars: The Old Republic, which as an MMO is great with story.
I mean, we've had this discussion before where we were trying to sit around and figure out when has BioWare actually disappointed. And I mean, I know that there has to be something that I'm sure you came up with something, Gim. I'm sure there was something that you had came up with, and it was like
a couple of times that BioWare have tripped up, and it's been like, as I said, they were basically Knights of the Republic 2 got farmed out to Obsidian, and Obsidian were rushed. I believe it was Obsidian. And they were rushed by the by EA, of course.
Of course. So at least we can blame someone else.
Can't really blame that entirely on BioWare.
See.
Mass Effect 3 was probably meddled with EA again, but we don't know. But BioWare should have stood up to them a bit more, because there was the big, massive story, important DLC that was day one purchasable, unless you were lucky like me and got the collector's edition, because I'll do anything for that. What else? Probably done there, really.
Yeah. No, I mean that's what I feel.
There was also the farming out of a lot of the animation work on Andromeda, which basically killed it before it got a chance to actually get anywhere. Because it was a decent game in the end when they fixed all of that shit.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people just got hung up on those, those little things. I mean, there's a lot of other folk, kind of try to argue the point, that, oh, well, actually, wait a minute, it wasn't just that. There was also things about story, and the selection of planets could have been more. But anyway, hey, enough about Mass Effect Andromeda. I think the interesting point that the article brings up is that there was supposed to be a beta for Andromeda. Hey, Karma, you're right, but a beta for Andromeda was announced, but then it was later cancelled, which... See, that doesn't surprise me, since Andromeda, even though it did have multiplayer aspects, was primarily a single-player game. Whereas you look at Anthem, and Anthem by design is it's going to be a shared world shooter most likely. So it's, it's an integral part of its development cycle. It needs to have a beta test. It needs to have a stress test of people connecting. Because nowadays you can't release a game that relies that much, whether it's dedicated or peer-to-peer connections, that requires people to play with each other. Giggity. You have to have a beta almost. It just seems you need to try to hash these things out. And even games that do still have multiplayer issues. Do I need to say Anteater or Cabbage or... no...
Weasel, guitar.
It's just the way it is. I mean, so if anything, I would imagine that, Anthem. See, yeah, I can get that. I mean, hopefully it doesn't play like hopefully it's more Destiny-ish than it is Wildlandish. I hope. Not that Wildlands was bad. It just, much like, there's so many games from Ubisoft that have great potential, and they just fall that tiny little bit short. Look at The Division. At launch, just wasn't quite there. Fast forward, and now it's in a really good position. I like it. I love it. But yeah, I don't think it's fair, to use a direct comparison to Destiny. I think it's it's not
just want to pigeonhole it.
Yeah,
they've not seen enough to actually place it anyway.
Yes, you're right, Gim. Yeah, I mean it's that this pigeonhole.
Darts blindfolded at a board and hoping something.
I mean, it's just the way we are in the game industry now. You look at it, everything has to be, oh, it's roguelike, oh, it's Dark Souls like, oh, it's this esque. It's just, it's just what happens. They always
Souls like is a thing now. I'll stick up for that one.
Yeah.
From obviously what little we've seen, because obviously it is barely anything. Is there anything you're sort of hoping it will have or expecting from it? Well, anything you'd like to potentially see within the game?
I mean, the thing I would hope...
The story that Drew would bring.
Yeah, exactly. If it's BioWare, I just feel that it has the potential to make me connect emotionally with the game. Which, if you think about Destiny... I don't think initially Destiny made that emotional connection with me, but over the years of us playing it together, of us raiding together, then I got emotionally invested. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like when we started Destiny 2, right off the bat, I was already invested emotionally. And I find a lot of games, that's a bit difficult these days to generate that. When you look at like the Gears of War games, they were exceptional at that. If you stayed in line with the series and enjoyed them, you just got so just enthralled by the characters, to the point where Gears of War 3 shattered so many lives out there. But then you look at Gears of War 4, or I believe I enjoyed Judgment, but Gears of War 4 I didn't have that same kind of emotional buy-in. So that's what I would hope, Jay, is that since BioWare, especially if they're mainly in control, if this isn't going to be, EA's calling all the shots, if BioWare really is allowed to do what they do well, it'll hopefully turn out good. Because, like you say, we just don't know how big. Is it going to be true open world? Is it going to be kind of compartmentalized like Destiny is? This is their chance to do something different. Maybe it is going to be more MMO than shared world shooter.
See, I'm hoping for. I want. Division sort of touched on it. Destiny not as much. I would like some really sort of advanced talent system. I've always enjoyed that kind of aspect, and again, I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, I mean, given BioWare's RPG pedigree, I would hope that there is that type of aspect in there. Yeah, I mean, the thing is though, I mean, nowadays though, Matt, I mean, these types of games, they have to be, especially if this is going to have like an end game with raiding or whatever the equivalent will be, then there has to be some type of dynamic like that, though. I mean, I know it's unfortunate when you think of the difference, like with Wildlands, where yeah, sure enough, a decent headshot can take someone out. It's a realistic thing, whereas and
they could borrow from Destiny 2, and they could make their end game more mechanics rather than bullet sponge.
True.
Because we look at Leviathan raid, they take a while to shoot down some stuff to take a few hits, but it's nowhere near the older Destiny 1 raids.
Of course. It also depends on the enemies too. I mean, if we're talking about like Anthem, I think there's an opportunity here. When you look at how beautiful it is and how big the world was, can you imagine having like Shadow the Colossus type of huge bosses or something like that, big huge mechanical things, or like big ass spaceships that you have to run over, and so then it's not really a bullet sponge, but more a case of, right, you've got to destroy this part of it, that part of it, this part of it. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing shit out my top of my head. But I think this is their chance with Anthem. If they make the scale of it epic, then it'll then no one would compare it to Destiny. You know what I mean? If it was very much its own thing, if, like Matt was saying, if it's open world rather than shared world.
They make some of the bosses like truly gigantic, like Final Fantasy style oversized bosses. That'd be nice.
All of that. That's...
As you said, like climbing on them, like Shadow of the Colossus style would be interesting. And with the suits they showed off, the sort of exo suits they showed off in their Anthem's announcement trailer, moving around would be quite fun.
Mm-hmm.
Move around the giant boss, finding points to attack and stuff like that.
It'll be...
And that would stop it being a bullet sponge, because you would have to... It could take time, but you'd be only damaging it for small amounts. You have to find spots to attack. Use your mind more than just mindlessly waiting on something with a Gallahorn.
I mean, it's a game that I've definitely got keeping an eye out on. I've seen a few folk that have actually, I think there's probably been too optimistic, who said they were skipping Destiny 2 because they were going to hold out on Anthem. And I mean, Anthem, we're talking late 2018 at the earliest.
Yes. I'm expecting the middle of 2019.
Yeah, I mean, Anthem's a long way off. By then...
If it comes out any earlier, it'll be rushed. And,
yeah. And so...
Doesn't work well for BioWare when they get rushed.
This is kind of my other thing, is where that far on in Destiny 2's life, it's no longer even. It's not competition. You know, depending on what Destiny 2's roadmap looks like, you know, it's just something different. It's like The Division, right? So many folks said, "Oh, this is going to be the Destiny killer," but well, no, it was just something different. It was people. I don't know. They just
People don't judge games on their own merits anymore. They always have to compare them.
yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the gaming world we live in, though, isn't it? Everything is going to be compared to
Yeah.
another game because it's.
People want to know which one to spend their money on.
I could be wrong in saying this, but it's becoming to the point where, unless it's indie, it's very rare that games companies are delving into something new, something fresh.
That's true.
They're pulling back onto almost they don't want to take the risk as such.
Well, it's like Matt had said it in his article today, where if you think about it, I mean, we could argue the same thing with movies and stories, you know, like plot lines. That I think, who was that author that wrote there's only 9 stories that exist, or something, you know, and every single book or movie is just a slight variation of one of these 9 core stories. And when you think about video games, it's very much true there as well. When you strip everything back,
Yeah.
something is either going to be a role-playing game, or it's going to be a platformer, or it's going to be a shooter. You know, there's only a small amount of actual genres, but we're starting to now we're taking sub-genres within and make, you know, I mean, for example, this whole BR thing, you know, which many say is a genre, but if you think about it, well, all these BR games are usually within either a third or a first-person shooter. You know, that's the genre.
Yeah.
They have a BR theme, but when when you really, really strip it back, a game is either this, that, this, or that. And you know, can you imagine if everyone went through life applying these same rules to like video games? Like, you know, you meet a lovely young lady, you know, who you want to take out for dinner and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, you know, you're just like Bob. Oh, you're very Bob-esque." Yeah, no, you're very Bob-like. Yeah, who's Bob? No, of course we don't, because that's stupid. But yet, for some reason, we do it with video games. You know, even in the film industry, we do it a little bit, but I don't really think many folk ever like watch a film and say, "Oh yeah, this is just aliens but in a different setting." You know, they'll say, "Oh yeah, it's similar to," or it draws inspiration from, but they don't say, "Oh, it's alien-esque."
Very few people, when there are actual films that are pretty much ripped off their core concept, like Hunger Games.
Yes.
Japanese battle royale. It's basically that.
Yeah.
It's pretty much slight variations, settings, but yeah, it's basically that. But no one cares. It's just like they're different films. They've got the same sort of themes to them, really, but they're different films.
Yeah.
And that's the same with like Fortnite. I haven't played PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds because I play shooters on PC because I'm terrible at mouse and keyboard shooter controls. But I'll probably play it when it comes to console, and I think personally I'll probably prefer Fortnite because it seems a bit more laid back, just because it's cartoony and it just seems like sort of lighter.
Well, you've got a soft spot for that aesthetic to begin with, anyway, so that makes sense. But no, I mean, the folk over at SG that have played the Battle Royale mod for Fortnite have all enjoyed it. They've said it's been pretty cool, pretty fun, something different.
Helps my second game. I got second place.
see, there you go.
Yeah, that was fun.
They suck you in.
Yeah.
Well, see, look, Anthem already, has generated so much conversation. Yeah, we digressed and went on tangents, but just shows you, right? If it can do that and we don't know anything about it, just wait till we actually have some proper meaty information about it. Unreal. Good old Anthem. Right, now last week we talked about the leaked benchmarks of the i9 7980X, the Extreme Edition, and I was hoping to have some actual firm benchmarks this week, because Jay had suggested it, that we could maybe revisit that this week. I couldn't find any I was happy with. I will say that from what I've seen, it's not the performance isn't as crazy high as what those leaked benchmarks said. It's still high, but anyway, we'll wait till we can get some proper details. But instead, we've got some reviews out of Coffee Lake, the new Intel i7 8700K. So this is from our friends over at WCCF Tech. And so the new flagship Coffee Lake 6-core CPU, remember, that is with hyper-threading, so that's a 12-thread processor, is faster than the i7 7700K and the i7 7800X at the same clocks. So this is quite interesting. I mean, yes, it's expensive to stay on top with the newest tech. Upgrading your processor and motherboard every year or two is unrealistic for those of us who, have real world responsibilities, or we're not making crazy 6-figure incomes. But as you would expect with Intel, there is a performance increase over the last gen. But what's quite interesting is it looks like it's by quite a fair bit. We're talking 7% faster than the i7 7700K in gaming. So that's cool, right? Because when we talk about gaming, the extra cores don't matter, right? Most games only use a certain amount of cores, so you can have as many as you want. For gaming, it's not going to affect anything. Where it gets interesting is when we look into, programs, things like Adobe Premiere, things like Sony Vegas, Handbrake, right? All of these types of programs that really, crunch your CPU and make them sweat a little bit. So this is quite interesting, for a 6-core chip with 12 threads to have a 4.3 gigahertz boost clock, is quite impressive. It's on a 14 nanomillimeter process node, so temperatures should be, decent. A 3.7 gig base frequency. And so it's quite interesting. It boosts up to 4.3 gig on all 6 cores, or it has, like for gaming performance, it will boost a single core up to 4.7 out of the box. So that's really quite impressive. A lot of processors you can push them that high, but not to come at 4.7. Just out the box. But there's other interesting little things here. 12 megabytes of level 3 cache, so that's nice. It of course supports DDR4 up to 4400 megahertz if you overclock, and it looks like it's going to be priced at $359 US. So not a bad little CPU by the looks of it. Price wise, yeah, I mean that's about where you expect the newest i7 to be. No doubt it'll be the same for us over here. It'll be the same number, just with a pound symbol, I would imagine.
As it always is.
As it always is. But it's quite interesting because the tests are showing, okay, that marginal increase in gaming that we expect, right? That kind of, 5 to 10%. But in the multi-threaded tests, right? This is where it gets interesting. This new 8700K is 42, well, let's call it 42% faster in multi-threaded tests, which that's huge. It just shows you those extra, just having 2 extra cores, which equates to 4 extra threads, is crazy. I mean, basically, for layman's, it's just, this is the newest Intel i7 that's about to come out, codenamed Coffee Lake. And where they're changing things, for many, many years, i7s have always had 4 cores, but each core hyper-threads, so it's got 2 effective. So like your CPU that you have, because you have a 6700K, is a quad core with hyper-threading. So when you open up your task manager and choose the right thing, you'll see you've got 8 little mini graphs. Well, the new i7 that's coming out, the 8700K, has 6 for a total of 12. So they've really boosted it up. So not only is the actual processor itself faster than the 7th gen, the gen after yours, right? It's faster than that, but also it's got these 2 extra cores on it. So it's crazy. It's giving you about 50% more multi-threaded performance, right? So games don't need that. But for example, if you're rendering video, it's going to perform 50% better. So like streaming, right? Using XSplit, all that stuff, that is when these multi-cores really, really, that's where you really earn your money. Because an i7 is a great gaming CPU, usually, right? Or if you're playing on console, it's a great streaming CPU. An i7 tends to sweat a little bit. Hey, Neil, you right, bud? Tends to sweat a little bit with AAA titles on PC and streaming them at the same time. But that's because it's only a quad core with hyperthreading. So I would imagine this new i7 will probably handle that quite a bit better, because when you look at the Ryzen's, which, I mean, what do you think, Jay? This chip, well, it just sounds like I hate using the word knee-jerk, but it has to be reactive to the Ryzen chips.
More than likely.
Because
you can say a lot of the stuff that's coming out from Intel at the moment could potentially be a reaction to Ryzen.
i9!
Exactly. I mean, they could have had this stuff in the pipeline anyway. We don't necessarily know.
It just, why would, how long has their i7, okay, regardless of speed, regardless of the levels of cache and what memory it uses, but how long has the i7 followed that model of being a quad-core processor with hyper? You know what I mean?
Long, yeah, exactly.
Every single generation, and then Ryzen comes along, and then yes, you know what? We've had a great idea. Our next i7's going to have 6 cores. Yay! Nah, that's no coincidence. They see that, when you look at, we're in a weird position where i7s do perform better in gaming compared to the Ryzen's, right? That's a fact. You can be an AMD fanboy all you want, but the cold hard numbers show that for single-threaded, for gaming performance, an i7 wins hands down. An i5, I mean, will also kick ass as well. But at the moment, a brand new i7, a 7700K, the minute you're playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and trying to render something in Adobe Premiere, guess what? You're going to be getting a slideshow. Whereas on a Ryzen, a Ryzen 7 or a Threadripper, it's not happening, right? Because of those extra cores, as long as you've got enough RAM, right? Of course, there's other types of variables that affect it. But potentially, the Ryzen is just a great little content machine, especially like you said, for streaming, for all that stuff. So it's this weird kind of position where a lot of the people who are content creators have been choosing Ryzen's in the last, since they've launched, and have been kind of saying, well, no, I'm not Intel. They're not going to give me the performance I need for what I want to do. So it just feels very, very reactionary, which is good for us. I mean, we get the benefit of this. I mean, eventually one day that chip will come down in price 5 years from now, and we'll be able to buy one, Jay.
Yep.
Oh, wait a minute, you'll be buying one next year. Now you've got this big fancy job.
Yep.
New computers for everyone.
Stay out before I start doing that. Nice as that would be.
You'll spend all the money on the computer parts.
Incoming 1080 Ti. I wish.
The time to spend.
I've got to first of all pay off this Xbox pre-order and then buy a 4K TV. So I just haven't brought this Xbox for the sake of it. Mm-hmm. That's my first priority.
But just remember, hey, don't rush on the TV. Remember, you're going to get increased performance, allegedly, on your current games. Maybe Destiny 2, when you do a public event in the EDZ right by the starting zone, it'll actually stay at 30 FPS. It might just happen on the Xbox One X. It'd be awesome. Or in the raid, on the Callus fight, the frame... Oh, Jesus.
Bungie already said they're not optimizing for Xbox One X because they hate Xbox.
Well, remember, though...
They're paid to hate Xbox by Sony.
Remember... The actual developers don't have to optimize. Allegedly the hardware itself will perform better. Now, yes, devs can go back and enhance by adding in HDR, adding in higher frame rates, or adding in 4K support. But what Microsoft kept saying was that, no, even just without touching anything, a game should theoretically run better. Whether it does or not, we will see. But that is what they said. So that's what I'm hoping for. But we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see.
We shall see. Right. Well, guess what? I'm out of news. We're done. We got there. Well, we started a little bit later because that was me. We were at family dinner and whatnot. But right, so everyone who came to tune in live, thank you so much for popping by. It was an absolute pleasure to see you. For those of you that didn't make the live show, which remember is every Thursday at 9 p.m. UK time here on Mixer. Oh, Bear, I love you, man. But not the way you're thinking. I want to touch you. No, that's horrible. Most likely you're watching this on YouTube or you're watching this at scholarlygamers.com because, of course, scholarlygamers.com is your source for, proper, true gaming and tech and nerd news, right? I mean, we've got features that are just different. It's not your usual clickbait. Good quality pieces written by quality writers. Video content as well. My good friend Bear there in the chat does armchair gaming, which, I've got to admit, I was never much of a philosopher, but watching him, listening to, he went to school for this stuff, right? I mean, he's a philosophical guy, obviously. It's a great show. You really need to tune in sometime. You can catch that course on scholarlygamers.com and at the Scholar Gamers YouTube. And we should be having another episode of that in the not so distant future. But yes, thank you to everyone who popped by. And we will catch you again next week, same place, same time. In the meantime, we've got games to play, and we'll catch you then. Let's say goodbye, bye, boys.
Au revoir.
Goodbye.
Catch you next time.